All right, Shalom. This is 2nd Esdras 14 and 35. It says, "For after death shall the judgment come, when we shall live again. And then shall the names of the righteous be manifest, and the works of the ungodly shall be declared." All right. So this lesson, this is going to be dealing with, if you understand the history of that's gone over, that's happening through the book, the 14th chapter of the book of 2nd Esdras, you will understand that 2nd Esdras 14 and 35 is indeed regarding reincarnation. 2nd Esdras 14 and 35 is talking about reincarnation. This is what Esdras was saying by knowing the history of 2nd Esdras, the 14th chapter. All right. Before I get into it, call Halam La Yahweh. All praise to Yahweh Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Wahara Kakwadash. Yahweh being who people call God, whose true name is Yahweh, in the name of his son, Yahweh Shai, who people call Jesus, whose name is Yahweh Shai. Salutations and double honors to the elder apostles over the Great Millstone Church, as well as the elder bishops, on down to the rest of the Akim of the branches, the doctrine, holding forth the doctrine as well, and pushing it in all true faith and sincerity, across the four corners of the globe. So just getting into this, as I said, if you understand 2nd Esdras, the 14th chapter's history, you will understand indeed that 2nd Esdras, the 14th chapter and the 35th verse is talking about, was alluding to, Esdras was alluding to specifically reincarnation, man. Meaning once being in the flesh on earth, going through what they call passing, deceasing, no longer being alive, right? That person, that body still being here, but then you living again, right? You being put back in the flesh. That is exactly what this is talking about. And again, if you understand the history of this chapter, the history that's being gone over, because that's what the chapter is dealing with, is history in itself, the true story in itself. You will indeed understand that that's it's not Hebrew Israelite camp doctrine. You know what I'm saying? Because there's been a lot of talks about that. But just getting into this, so we got the particular verse we dealing with, which we're speaking on, but we're gonna go into the chapter to show you the history, to prove that this verse is indeed talking about reincarnation, and then we're gonna get some more to back it. So before we come over here to the right side of the screen, right, which is another translation of the book of 2nd Esdras in the RSV. This the KJV, right, which both is great for getting that history, and specifically this RSV. So when we come here, 1 second. And another thing to make this relevant, because there's many brothers that did elder start, the elder apostles, elder bishops on down, you know what I'm saying, that talked about, even many other groups, Israelites, but probably specifically, GMS. All right, there's been many brothers, elders, apostles, elder apostles, so forth and so on, elder bishops that have went into reincarnation. But what makes it, again, right, relevant, another time over, and this time I'm dealing with, because I spoke on this many times, but through the Spirit. This time I'm dealing with, and it's dealing with, you will understand why you're in the situation you find yourself in now, as well as other people. That's what this chapter shows you. Because reincarnation, coming back into the flesh, from a previous time of being in the flesh, it determines that, it dictates that, what that lot is going to be. And that's what this chapter deals with specifically. So let's get into this. This is second Esdras, right? We're going to deal with it in the 14th chapter, right? But primarily we're going to deal with in the RSV. All right, but we're going to run through some things in the KJV. So when you go to second Esdras 14 in the KJV, it says what? Let's go to the things that Esdras is being told, right? Which is what this whole chapter is dealing with. It's dealing with the things that he's being told that's gonna happen, which were things told him upon his question, which was you could read about in the earlier chapters of second Esdras. All right. So since I say that, let's show that. Let's go to second Esdras in the 3rd chapter. It says what? In the first verse, just before he started talking to, who was it, Uriel, one of the archangels who was sent to talk to him and expound to him on the things of his concern, his questions. But before that happened, here we are. Third, well, this is what's going on. History, as they call it. It's a true story. Second Esdras 3:1. In the 30th year after the ruin of the city, see, in the 30th year after the ruin of the city, I was in Babylon. See, I was in Babylon and lay troubled upon my bed. And my thoughts came up over my heart. See that? For I saw the desolation of Zion and the wealth of them that dwelt at Babylon. So us being in slavery, and it being at the bottom, just like we are now, so-called blacks, so-called Negroes, African Americans, West Indians, so-called Native American Indians, so-called Latinos, Latinas, whatever, right? This was basically, what example you can get to understand this. And he in his feelings, man. Being oppressed, they up, so forth and so on, we down. And it says, and my spirit was sore moved. See that? He was upset to the core and heard about things. So that I began to speak words full of fear. See? I began to speak words full of fear to the Most High. See? To the Most High. And said, he trying to find answers. Oh Lord, who bears rule, thou spakest at the beginning when thou didst plant the earth. And then you got to keep in mind, we all know we Israelites that during these times, like completely. We know we from Israel, right? We can trace our lineage, all these type of things. We still all have knowledge of the knowledge, wisdom, understanding of Yahweh Shem Yahushua. We know we above all people. Even if a lot didn't hold to that, we knew that. So that's what's going on. We know our customs and again, that knowledge and understanding of Yahweh Shem Yahushua, which is the higher things that heathens don't understand. So nonetheless, he says, O Lord, who bears rule. See, he know the Lord, the Most High. Thou speakest at the beginning when thou didst plant and we knew the Lord's name, Yahweh, right? When thou didst plant the earth, and that thyself alone, see, and that thyself alone, see, and commandest the people. See that? We know the Lord, Esdras had complete understanding of all that. He know the Lord made the earth, Yahweh. You know what I'm saying? And he knew Jake, who Jake was, Israel was. You know what I'm saying? He knew what it meant to be an Israelite. He knew who the Israelites was. He knew that, because we were still in that state again. And gave us a body unto Adam without soul. See that? And he understood higher things. He knew about the time before we was the Israelites. Like he understood he understood the spirit. The spirit of everything. Everything is everybody's spirits. He understood we was these chosen people, this set apart people, in the spirit, first and foremost. We are designated body of souls, spirits. So again, and gave us a body unto Adam without soul. See that? Which was dealing with what like alluding to what Jeremiah said in the first chapter. He said before, when he was told before he was formed in the belly, the Lord knew him. That's what he's getting into. He said, and gave us a body unto Adam without a soul. See, without soul. See that? Before he was formed in the belly, he already had Adam's lot laid out, basically. See that? And it says, and then, right, that also is going into the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. Him knowing like you're not truly alive unless you have the knowledge, wisdom, understanding they have about Shema Shah. See that? It says, and gave us a body unto Adam without soul. See that? Which was the workmanship of thy hands. And you set it up like that. And he's talking about who? The chosen Adam. He's talking about his forefathers. When we was ruling from the beginning in the garden. That's why he mentioned Adam, because that's what was going on in the garden. It was the top people then. And that was us. And we fell from that. The Israelites. Before we was called the Israelites, we was the sons and daughters of God. Yahweh. Right? It says, and which was the workmanship of thy hands, and did is breathe into him the breath of life. See? And he gave him what? Wisdom. But not perfectly, not completely. Which is why they was willing to go get into other things or hear or learn from other nations. Really, Eve. And then Adam bought into it through Eve, because she was into it, like Solomon with his wives. But it says, and did it breathe into him the breath of life. But they knew. The Lord gave them what they knew. He like, this is it, you know? But then here come the devil like, well, you don't know about this, but whole nother video. It says, lesson. It says, and did it breathe into him the breath of life, and he was made living before thee. See that? So he was on earth. He was a vessel. He was a body, but he ain't had the knowledge, wisdom, understanding. You hadn't get, he wasn't really alive until you gave that to him. You see that? Which obviously Adam didn't understand at the time. Say the first Adam knew her not perfectly, roughly paraphrasing. I believe that's 1 Corinthians 15, also alluded to in the Apocrypha and other places, other books, other Apocrypha again. So you gotta just understand that's what Esdras is at when he's saying what he's saying. This is an enlightened man. This is why in his mind, one second. So this is what allows him to say, Salaki, this is what allows him to say, Salaki meaning forgive me, but what he's saying and question what he's questioning and come at it from the angle he's coming at it. You know what I'm saying? He's approaching the matter. That's why his perspective is what is able to be. You gotta know the history, man. The Apocrypha is complete historical times of our people, and when you read that history, you get to not only read about the stuff that happened, the true story that happened, the true stuff that happened, but you get to get insight on what we knew. You know what I'm saying? How things was always, once like, or things was always like this, or once like that, or whatever. So we dealing with history, true story. While I'm saying this, there's just this in this one verse. So again, and he was made living before thee, and thou leddest him into paradise, which thy right hand had planted. See that? Before ever the earth came forth. So Esdras understood the angels was used to make everything, starting with Yahweh Shah. See that? And unto him, because he says, and thou leddest him into paradise, which thy right hand had planted. He didn't say Adam did it. He said his right hand did it. The right hand of the Most High is Yahweh Shah on down to the angels. That's the right hand of the most Yahweh Shah. I mean, of Yahweh. When you go to, just really quick, let's go to this right here. 1 second. So yeah, come in here. This is 1 Kings 22, and we're going to start at 13. It says, and the messenger that I was gone to call Micaiah spake unto him, saying, behold, now the words of the prophets declare good unto the king with one mouth. Let thy word, I pray thee, be like the word of one of them, and speak that which is good. And Micaiah said, as Yahweh liveth, what Yahweh saith unto me, that will I speak. So he came unto me, came to the king and said, and the king said unto him, Micaiah, shall we go against Ramoth Gilead to battle, or shall we forbear? And he answered, go and prosper, for Yahweh shall deliver it into the hand of the king. And the king said unto him, how many times shall I adjure thee that thou tell me nothing but that which is which is true in the name of Yahweh? And he said, I saw all Israel scattered upon the hills as sheep that have not a shepherd. So what that mean? If he the king, right, he would be like the shepherd. So he basically telling him the shepherd ain't gonna be there no more. He ain't gonna be there no more. He gonna die. You know what I'm saying? And Jake gonna be all over the place. That's what he basically told him. And Yahweh said, these have no master. See that? Because he killed the king, who was this? The king, it wasn't Jehoshaphat, it was let me pull it up. Yeah, Ahab. When you just read on. All right. It was Ahab who went down and talked to the Jehoshaphat, who's the king of Judah at the time. Ahab being the king of Israel, the northern kingdom. But nonetheless, going back to the point, and the king of Israel, verse 18, said unto Jehoshaphat, did I not tell thee that he will prophesy no good concerning me, but evil? And he said, hear thou therefore the word of Yahweh. I saw Yahweh. See that? So he like, look, I'm gonna break it down to you. He said, hear thou therefore the word of Yahweh. I saw Yahweh sitting on his throne, and all the hosts of heaven. And what's host mean? It's talking about angels. All right, when you get that word host, let's just pull it up real quick. You got the word Tazabah. And it means what?
Strong's H, 6635. Sava.
Tazabah. But anyway, it says of angels. See that? Of angels. That's the context right here. Who is an army. But nonetheless, reading on 1 Kings 22 and 19 continue. And all the host of heaven, see all the angels of heaven standing by him on his right hand, see, on his right hand and on his left. See, on his right hand and on his left. There it is. So he got two sets of angels. Those are the works of the Most High, 2 and 2, one against another. He got left hand, right hand, left hand. The right represents the good, the left represents the evil. All right? But it all brings forth the will at the end of the day of Yahweh Bashmi al-Shah, because the Lord is about balance. But that's that. So again, coming back to 2nd Esdras 3 and what I leave off. 6. And thou lettest him into paradise, which thy right hand had planted. See, the right hand angels. But they did that with Yahushua off his command. But that's a whole nother thing, because he said, by whom thou madest the world. And everything, nothing was made that was made, without Yahushua, roughly paraphrasing, but that's a whole nother lesson. It says, before ever the earth came forth. Exactly, going back to what you read in Genesis 1. It says, and unto him thou gavest commandment to love thy law. Because after that was laid, he took a chosen man, chosen out of the men, and he set him up to rule over everything and to name everything and say what's gonna be what. And that was our people. That's what it was. It was over everything and everybody. So now you get the context of where Esdras is coming from the top of the chapter. Because he's complaining how we at the bottom now. You see that? So you should get that clear as day. All right? Because he says, and now gave his commandment, and unto him, not everybody. Everybody went under the ways of Yahweh, and then, we all fell. It wasn't only one man and one woman in the beginning of when you read Genesis. That's not what that's telling you. Because again, where did Cain get his wife? If Adam and Eve recordedly only had what? Sons. It says, and unto him thou gavest commandment to love thy way, which he transgressed. And immediately, the Lord say a lot was saying certain things. He wouldn't even be there if he didn't want you to think that. It's the same thing. Just because the Bible don't got the word reincarnation in it, that don't mean it's in places where, that doesn't mean in places where it's alluding to clearly reincarnation is not talking about reincarnation because it don't say reincarnation. Just because the Lord tell you, if you can receive it, this was Elijah. John the Baptist was Elijah, right? But he didn't say, but I ain't gonna use the word reincarnation. That's not gonna mean he's not. That doesn't mean because of that he it isn't talking about the concept known as reincarnation. And that's what you gotta understand. So it's the same thing with this. So he going back to the beginning, like, let me get this right. Let me lay everything back out how it is. Like, we really this. We come from this. It was always over these people. And now we here. I'm hurt. Like, what the, that's what he's saying. It says, and unto him, how we get here, basically. And unto him thou gavest commandment to love thy way, which he transgressed. And immediately, and it's powerful, man. Because again, we're understanding this, it's going to really show you why Jake and certain Jakes are in the roles they find themselves in. You got some setting up, I'm gonna hold my tongue because I'm jumping the point, but it says, which he transgressed. See that? Because he followed Eve, who transgressed, the daughter of God, of Yahweh, right? Being following her, being the son of Yahweh, son of God, being a son of God. You see what I'm saying? It says, and immediately thou appointest death in him. See that? Now you able to die. Y'all got a way to access death now. Now you able to corrupt. You should have just left it at what it was. But see, the serpent had to beguile in to where, hearts could be penetrated. Now you considering crap. Considering when there is nothing to consider. Making it think, making it believe you being made to believe you got options. But nonetheless, read no. It says, in his generations of whom came nations, tribes, people, kindreds out of number. Exactly. You got to think, not only did the chosen come out of him, but not the chosen. Not only did the Hebrew Israelites come out of him, but the Hebrew Edomites, Ishmaelites, right? Moabites, Ammonites, they all Hebrews because they all come from that lineage. See that? So that's why it says, of whom came nations, tribes, people, kindreds, and kindreds out of number. You see what I'm saying? You got to think, all those people was very close to being the chosen, if you will. Like, just off of being there, like being related, because Esau literally was in the womb he was in the same womb as Jacob. Same thing with Isaac. Same dad, but they not the same mother, which is spiritual. You know what I'm saying? Nonetheless, it says, and of whom came, because the mother was a heathen, a literal heathen. Now, the other, but with because that was Hagar. With Rebecca, that wasn't a matter of fact. Not Rebecca, Sarah. With Sarah, that wasn't the case. She was of his people, of Abraham's people. Then it went to the rest of the four mothers. But nonetheless, who was other stop. But nonetheless, it says, and his, as far as, when Jacob was born, those the parents of Jacob, which is Isaac and Rebekah. But anyway, it says, and in his generations of whom came nations, tribes, people, and kindreds out of number. And every people walked after their own will and did wonderful things, see, before thee, and despised, see, thy commandments. Like wonderful things, like not in the sense of like, oh my God, that's amazing. Like wonderful things, like what the head scratching stuff. Because they didn't know the Lord. But these is alluding to what? These people was the people that never knew the Lord. These are the same people we under now. These were the heathen. These are the heathens. They're heathen. And again, in process of time, thou broughtest the flood upon those that dwelt in the world and destroyed them. See, he understood all of that, man. He knew about the flood. All right. So again, and he like, but when you repopulated the earth through those 8 souls, you did what? You see that? And it came to pass in every of them that as death was to Adam, so was the flood to these, which is heavy because it's through the chosen man everything got messed up because he fell. And that's what you see now. Jake down, everything out of whack. And it's because of what we chose. You see that? Jake and Eve down, Jake and Jake at down, and god dang, look everything that went to whack. You see that? But he found the chosen amongst them of the remnant, if you will, to restart everything, which is all symbolic. Because the earth gonna be made back right again through the remnant of Israel. Now, are all the people gonna be destroyed physically this time? No. So it was all symbolic to why the Lord had it happen like that, just to really get to us. It's through this remnant that's gonna bring everybody back. Because if you really look at it, everybody really dead this time around as well too. Y'all ain't nothing. It's like you're not even here. But anyway, it says, so you don't think there's no contradictions in the scriptures or in what I just said. That's why I'm alluding. But anyway, it says, and it came to pass in every of them that as death was to Adam, so was the flood to these. Exactly. They ain't have a choice. It says, nevertheless, one of them thou leftest, namely Noah, right, with his household, of whom came all righteous men. See that? And it happened that when they that dwell upon the earth began to multiply, and had gotten them many children, and were a great people, they began again to be more ungodly than the first. See that? So he going through everything in his own mind, talking to the Heavenly Father. He just trying to make sense of what the situation. Jake, we as the Israelites find ourselves in Babylon at the time. We were slaves. Knowing we Israelites, knowing we was chosen, knowing we was brought out of the Exodus was crazy. The what they call Shemoth, right? Knowing we was named and given a name back, the office back. We was given an office to be above all people. Designation, that was given the designation of God. We was the many most highs, if you will, of the earth, man. The sons and daughters of the Most High. That's what the Exodus was about. Exodus, and then the Shemawath, right? Was alludes to all that, being made. Nope, that's Genesis. Being put back to when we was chief during Genesis. See that? That's what this was. It was to try to get us back to that garden state where we fell from, back to the beginning of Genesis, how it always was. This is why Esdras is going through this, bro. But now we find ourselves in a different estate, really upon what we did. And that's getting to the point of the lesson, reincarnation. But look, it says, and it happened Yeah, they began to be again more ungodly than the first. Now when they lived so wickedly before thee, see that thou didst choose. See, now when they lived so wickedly before thee, thou didst choose thee a man. See, a man, not everybody, from among them, whose name was Abraham. See, the Lord don't lie. That which shall be is that which has been is that which shall be. Right? No new thing under the sun. The Lord don't change, and this why he bringing this. He's pleading with Yahweh. He like, man, look, him thou lovest, and unto him only thou shootest thy will, and made an everlasting covenant with him, promising him that thou wouldest never forsake his seed. Why is he mentioning that? Because we're that seed. He's of that seed. And unto him thou gavest Isaac, and unto Isaac thou gavest Jacob and Esau. As for Jacob, thou didst choose him to thee, and put by Esau. See that? To show a difference. And so Jacob became a great multitude. And it came to pass that when thou leddest his seed out of Egypt, see that? He knew all this. He went back to the beginning, going through all who's always chosen from the beginning. It says, thou broughtest them up out of the Mount Sinai. You see that? It wouldn't matter to go over Genesis and what Eve and Adam did if we aren't those people. See that? It wouldn't be, you wouldn't have the same things going on, that once went on, in the past and the present time. Now in the present time, if it wasn't the same people coming back, here in the past times, here in the present times from the past times, you wouldn't have it, it being the same things going over and over again. You wouldn't have it. See that? Heathens now has always been heathens. The chosen people now has always been chosen people now. It's prophets now has always been prophets now. It's wicked and abominable, disobedient people now has always been that. You see what I'm saying? In the same ways you read about it, because these are the same people coming back. And that's basically what Esdras is going through in this chapter, if you can receive it. But just so you can, just to make it clear and show you this is 100% history or historical references. For the rest of the historical references of the scriptures, we went through the third chapter a little bit. See that? So it says, so that's basically it. And brought us them up to the Mount Sinai. What happened? That's when we got that name upon that exit of Egypt, which was for us to get us our name back or be reminded of, look, man, I set y'all over everything from the beginning. That's what it's about. But only the wise amongst our people would hear that, consider that, read between the lines on all that, and assume the position. Assume the office, presume the office, resume the office. But it says, and blowing the heavens, thou didst set fast the earth, movest the whole world, and madest the depth to tremble, and troublest men of that age. Exactly, when we took back over. And thy glory went through the four gates of fire, and of earthquake, and of wind, and of cold, that thou mightest give the law unto the seed of Jacob, and diligence unto the generation of Israel. And yet tookest thou not away from them a wicked heart. Though he gave us all this responsibility, this position, he didn't give us everything. So this shows you the level that Esdras is on. He know like we not built right. So he basically alluding, if you will, even if he didn't understand, that's what he was saying. He was made through the Spirit to speak about the new bodies that's been prophesied to come to us, man. That Solomon was complaining about. How? Because, as far as all things being vanity, because man could die. You see that? So exactly, how are we gonna be back to this state of Genesis, right? If we can die. You see that? Though we being told, okay, we need to go back to that estate. So the Lord giving us insight on what's going on, why things working, how they working, so we can truly understand and overcome. You see what I'm saying? And use his knowledge and information to our abilities, best ability, to our advantage. See that? It says, for the and took not away from him a wicked heart, that thy law may bring forth fruit in them. See, that thy law may bring forth fruit in them. For the first Adam bearing a wicked heart transgressed. He was made like that and was overcome. And so he was able to go down by the serpent. And so be all they that are born of him. Right? Thus infirmity was made permanent, and the law also in the heart of the people with the malady of the root. Let's get that word. The word malignity, it deals with the quality on the Merriam-Webster dictionary, the quality or state of being malignant, something that is malignant. We read this in the malviolence. Let's do this. It's a regular Google. They ain't giving it to me. Malicious goes back to the word malicious or deadly, right? We read it in the Collins Dictionary. Let's get that. It says what? A persistent malignity. All right. It says persistent, intense ill will or desire to harm others. You know? So basically being petty, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, exactly. The state of character or being malign, right? Malevolence. It says, or malevolence, intense ill will, spite. See that? So it's basically like being petty. You know what I'm saying? Like, can't take the low. So coming back here. And the law also in the heart of people with malignity, with the malignity of the root. See, of the root, it says so that, and the ear, which is the body. You see what I'm saying? That's the root cause of all of this. You know, the flesh is all about itself. You see what I'm saying? It says so that the good departed away and the evil abode still. See that? It says, so the times passed and the years were brought to an end, that thou then didst thou raise up a servant called David. So you could just keep reading over all of this and all, you know, but he basically got to the point now. Let me just read through, whom thou commandest to build a city unto thy name. See that? And to offer incense and oblations, right, which is dealing with sacrifice, right? It says, unto thee therein. When this was done many years, then they inhabited then they that inhabited the city forsook thee. See, when this was done many years, then they that inhabited the city forsook thee. See, this is a constant cycle, right? And in all things did even as Adam. See that? As all his generations had done, for they also had a wicked heart. And so thou gavest the city over into the hands of thy enemy. So basically, he talking with himself through the Spirit, answering his own questions. You see what I'm saying? He making sense. He's examining. You know what I'm saying? He meditating. It says, are their deeds? Look, this is the point now. Are their deeds then any better than the inhabited Babylon? Are their deeds then any better that inhabit Babylon, that they should therefore have the dominion over Sion? So that's his angle. He like, look, you set us up, we went off because we was hence not doing things you with, and you always put us down and put heathens over us. So these heathens who are over us, if that's how you get down, how is these heathens over us when they don't know nothing? They don't, which is why it's able to be. But these heathens who also do things you against, and yet don't even, and then on top of that, don't even know thee. So from his perspective, he didn't realize probably through, you know, him going through those trains of thoughts that's why. Like, yeah, they do things the Lord hate like we do, and we to where we go down and they get put over us, but the difference is they don't know the Lord. You see that? So that's why. And then you always submit, and then you ain't going over the fact that all these times we fail was due to us basically wanting to be like them or be under them, you know? So when you read on, he says, are their deeds any better than that inhabited Babylon, that they should therefore have the dominion over Sion? For when I came hither and had seen impieties without number, then my, right, and we're gonna get that word. It's best translate this. Matter of fact, stay here. Let's go to the college.
Impiety.
The impiety, it says lack of reverence or proper respect for a God. Any lack of proper respect, right? Impieties, when he seen the impieties, right?
Impiety.
Coming back here, without number, right? Then my soul saw many evildoers in this 30th year. So that in this 30, we was there for 30 years. So that my heart under them for 30 years. So that my heart failed me. He just couldn't figure it out. For I have seen how thou sufferest dumb sinning and hast spared wicked doers, and has destroyed thy people, and has destroyed thy people, and has preserved the enemy, and has preserved thy enemies. See, let me read it again. For I have seen how thou sufferest dumb sinning, and has spared wicked doers, and has destroyed thy people, and has preserved thine enemies, and has not signified it. I do not remember how this way may be left. Right? Are they then of Babylon better than they of Sion? He was just confused, confounded. It says, or is there any other people that knoweth thee besides Israel? Or what generation has so believed thy covenants as Jacob? And yet their reward appeared not, and their labor have no fruit. For I have gone here and there through the heathen, and I seen that they flow in wealth and think not upon thy commandments. Weigh thou therefore our wickedness now in the balance, and there is also that dwell in the world. So shall thy name nowhere be found but in Israel. Or when was it that they which dwell upon the earth have not sinned in thy sight? Or what people have so kept thy commandments? Then shalt thou find by name. I'm sorry. It says, thou shalt find that Israel by name hath kept thy precepts, but not the heathen. So this is the point now. And the Esdras and the angel, next chapter, right? So he get to that point, run it down. He's like, man, how are we here? I get how we here, but yet how are they justify being over us? Like, yeah, we did the same stuff over and over, and it's because you set us up to be like this. But see, ultimately what this leads you to is Ezra's getting the reveal, right? And the push to bring out reincarnation and how people end up in lots, which is that 14th chapter. And the angel that was sent unto me, this is the 4th chapter now. So when he said all that, that's when he got Uriel sent unto him. And the angel that was sent unto me, whose name was Uriel, gave me an answer. See that? What shows you Ezra is always somebody, because he wouldn't answer him. But getting to the point, it says, and said, thy heart hath gone too far in this world. Because that's really why you tripping. Because you caught up in this world. You see what I'm saying? You letting this world and the concerns and the cares and worldly sorrow have you feeling like this. Because y'all can't have a part in the world that's not even yours. That's basically what he he went on to tell him, and then he told him basically like, yo, this whole shit you talking about, like you complaining about how I ain't got nothing now, but this whole thing about to go down. Like key words you use that you don't even realize, right? Is he preserved his enemies for what? He been letting them for the ultimate judgment. He been letting them rack the shit. The Lord get right on us every time. That's perfect. So now we ain't building up that's crazy. These people gonna be at a point of no return. Like they owe the Lord like so much, if you will, right? They can't pay it back. They don't got nothing to pay it back. See, we couldn't pay it back either, but we had Yahushua. That's what we was used. The Lord allowed our nation to be able to have that much power and consideration from him that we would be able to give birth to the Messiah and his brothers. Like it's just this is why you have to take yourself serious as an Israelite and guard your heart, your people. Like this is serious. Because look, if you don't get that, man, you know, it's crazy, bro. You unlock a whole nother world, or you keep this world going. Read on. It says, thy heart has gone too far in this world and thinkest thou to comprehend the way of the Most High, right? Because you're not even thinking from the perspective of the Most High, if you will, right? You coming with your reasoning from the worldly sorrow you have, this world. From you got to this reasoning really through, reasoning, trying to, reasoning from, considering this world, reasoning from the perspective of somebody that considers this world, if you will, which ain't got nothing to do with you. Now, how do you think now you should understand how you get second Esdras the 6th chapter written, which is him telling him Esau's the end of this world. Jacob is beginning as this follows, because he didn't understand really this wasn't our world. He didn't understand it's just times that was split up. That's how that was written. But and yet, you talking about how we keep going through this, thus proving reincarnation again. But nonetheless, then he said, yeah. Then I said, yeah, my Lord. So he humbled down. He said, he answered me and said, I am sent to show thee 3 ways and to set forth 3 similitudes before thee. Check this out. Wherefore, if thou canst declare me one, I will shew thee also the way that thou desirest to see, and I shall shew thee from whence the wicked heart cometh. See that? Crazy. He's going to show him how this wicked heart came about, right? Why is within us? Why, Jake play out the wicked heart. All this, right? It says, and I said, tell on my Lord. Then said he unto me, go thy way, right? Weigh me the weight of fire. All right, it's the first thing you would do, right? Weigh me the weight. Tell me, the how much it weigh. And weight, that's heavy in itself, because there's a reason why he asked him that. You got to consider everything that go into fire. You see that? That's crazy. You got to consider everything that goes into fire, how fire has its being. So when you deal with the word weight, it says the amount or quantity of heaviness or mass. See that? So how many things is within this fire, which we're likened unto? You see that? We're likened unto fire. He calls we're spirits. Our spirits are fires. That's why when a person die, their body go cold. So clearly that spirit is fire, because it heats the body and keeps it. As long as you got fire, you got warmth. You see what I'm saying? But it says weight is in the freedictionary.com. Weight is a measure of the heaviness or mass of an object or the force of gravity on it. Importance, influence, that's what weight is. That's crazy. Importance and influence and pressure is what makes up weight. The weight of something. What's known as the weight of something. So how's esteem determines why that fire is the way it is. what is it, you know, what influence it has or to have determines, you know, the weight of, you know, the said thing also, and the pressure that's been put on it, or the amount of pressure, the pressure of it helps determines the weight of the said of a said thing. Um, so it's a lot you can just really get into to get into why the angel asked him that, because he wasn't literally, like, obviously on the surface level, don't nobody know the weight of actual physical fire, but really when you dealing in the spiritual mind, you go beyond that. It's talking about when you understand this is Ezra being answered and ultimately, you know, made to bring out the fact of reincarnation and why people got the lost they lot, got that they've been allotted with or got, right, all upon him asking his question and bringing out through bringing out, you know, our continual cycle and that we go through. That's proof. It's just crazy, bro. And he like, look, this is why it's like this. And then this is why y'all going through this. It's like that trial, right? Because it's the influence behind the trial. Hence the weight of the trial. The trial is what? Likened unto fire. And fire is said to have a weight. Fire itself, you ain't considering that. It's a way this is going to influence us. It's a way this is going to impact us, right? And they say it's heavy because they tell you diamonds are what is it? I don't want to misquote it. Like they say diamonds are made from pressure. The quote is on the AI on Google. The quote unquote, no pressure, no diamonds. Never heard it like that, but nonetheless, it's attributed to Thomas Carl, a 19th century historian, and essayist. It signifies that significant achievements, and valuable outcomes tend arise often arise from enduring hardships and adversity. See that? No fire, no pure gold. Gold is gold, so no fire, no gold. It's either gold or it ain't, right? The pressure, it says the pressure represents the challenges and hardships faced, while the diamond symbolizes the desirable and valuable result of persevering through those difficulties. So the Lord, it says the phrase conveys the idea that challenges and adversity are necessary for personal growth and the development of strength, resilience, and ultimately success. See that? And ultimately success. It suggests that in order to achieve something of great value, one must be willing to face and overcome pressure and hardship. And that's so fire because when you go back, so that's the word weight. I don't even got to get no more into it. When you go back to Second Esdras 7, and the 57, it says Second Esdras 7 and 57. Then answered he me and said, this is further on in that conversation he will go on to have. He will go on to have with Esdras, meaning the angel Uriel. He said, then he answered me and said, this is the condition of the battle. See that? So really what that fire is talking about is the trial that we find ourselves dealing with, you know, which has a weight to it, which again, knowing what the word weight means, it deals with weight is what's the word I'm looking for? It's a compilation, or it's comprised of pressure, right, which makes diamonds, influence, right, and what's the other word? Forget the other word. And so forth. All right, which helps you have a weight. So it's gonna allow weight, right? Knowing that's what weight means, it's gonna allow us to come out, you know, with that great value we was talking about. You know what I'm saying? But so that's what's helping. That's why everything is the way it is. And then you even have the spirits themselves going through that trial who have a weight because they're likened unto fire, which is gonna which is also determining why things is how they are for individuals. See that? You don't get what's the weight of these people, man. What's the weight of these people? You know, because again, you know what weight is. It deals with the influence, the pressure, and damn, forgot it. Yeah, weight. It's heavy. It says a body's relative mass or quantity of matter contained by it giving rise to a downward force, the heaviness of a person or thing. Yeah, and that's crazy because now when you go into your synonym, it says load. That deals with like lot, what you got to deal with, what you got to carry, burden. He's like, do you know the weight of why it is of these people, of the weight of the matter? No, but you should because it all has a weight. It all has. There's a reason why it's going like this. Hence influence, pressure. All of it's to cause something. All designated for a purpose. All it was Lot was given upon something. Weight, the ability of someone or something. You know, it's like this dude, these people abilities. The ability of someone or something to influence decisions or actions. So you got certain people that was made to help things come forth, you know what I'm saying? For the overall matter that the Lord wants, you know? And specifically for his elect. So you gotta have certain spirits to where there's a rising up, you know? Every Jake not right, so forth and so on. You know? Crazy. This is fire, bro. But anyway, so that's that. And we're gonna come back here. But so he says, go back in second Esdras 3, 4, and 5. He says, go that way, weigh me the weight of fire, or measure me the blast of the wind, or call me again the day that is past. That's it. That's it. That is it. That is this is 100% telling you you went into the past and the cycles. So that's ultimately what Esdras went on and said and declared unto the people. All right. I just wanted to get that word blast. The blast of the wind. A big explosion, that's what we call it by a bomb. If something is blasted into a particular place or state, right? An explosion causes it to be in that place or state. If workers are blasting rock, they are using explosives to make holes in it or destroy it. You know? So it's the power, it's the force or something. You know? Tell me the blast of wind. That's tough. But anyway, he says, let's back up. Right? Or measure me the blast of the wind. Or call me again the day that is past. Tell me everything that happened yesterday. Can you tell me everything that went on in the garden? Everything that went on post flood? You know what I'm saying? Everything that went on post Shamawath, Shamos, right? Exodus, all right, which is a Greek word. Then answered I and said, what man is able to do that thou shouldest ask of such things? Me, ask such things of me. Exactly. That's it. He said unto me, if I should ask thee how great dwellings are in the midst of the sea, or how many springs are in the beginning of the deep, or how many springs are above the firmament, or which are the outgoings of paradise. Peradventure thou would say unto me, I never went down into the deep, nor as yet into hell, neither did I ever climb up into heaven. Nevertheless, now I have asked thee. See, you couldn't answer me that. But these are all things he presented to his mind for a reason, because he wouldn't have did it if it wasn't to get nothing out of it. Like, yeah, you're not gonna be able to answer it, but again, these are things I can ask you. If I was sent to, Lord ain't bring him no folly. These are real things. He's like, you couldn't tell me none of this because you ain't never been to these places. You know what I'm saying? Which are the outgoings of paradise? How many springs are in the beginning of the deep, right? And that goes back to Genesis 1, because he said in the beginning, there is a darkness in the face of the deep, you know, but to say the least, man, it says verse 9, nevertheless, now I have asked thee, but only of fire and wind, and of the day where through thou hast passed. See that? You should be able to tell me what happened yesterday. You was here yesterday. And of things which that's manifold, because yesterday, remember, a day with the Lord is 1,000 years. Yesterday could be yesterday, like Wednesday for you, what they call Wednesday, or the third day for you. Not saying Wednesday is the third day, because we know that the new moon is not cycled upon Monday through goddamn so-called Sunday. You know, the first day can be on a Wednesday, it can be on a Sunday. What they call a Sunday, or what they call a Wednesday, could be on a Friday. The second day could be on a Friday. We know that, you know what I'm saying? But we don't teach that, you know. The new moon determines, you know, the first and second days of the month. But nonetheless, when he mentions that the day of yesterday is since we know, because the Lord revealed to us, we got yesterday for us and yesterday for him. A day for us is literally a day for us. But that day, a day for the Lord is 1,000 years. So if he was to come and ask him, tell me everything that happened yesterday, he wouldn't just be telling him to tell him everything that happened, like I said, so-called Wednesday, or on the so-called third day, right? Like for you down here, right? Following the moon. He could be talking about, tell me everything that happened 1,000 years ago. And again, you dealing with a God that requires that which is past. You see that? That's written. That's in Ecclesiastes by the wisest man that ever lived, a preacher, Solomon. See that? Nevertheless, I have asked thee only of only fire and wind, and of the fire, but only of the fire and wind, and of the day wherethrough thou hast passed, and of things for which thou cannot be separated. And yet canst thou give me no answer of them. He said, moreover unto me, thine own things and such as are grown up with thee, canst thou not know. How should thy vessel be able to comprehend the way of the highest, and the world being now outwardly corrupted, right? To understand the corruption that is evident in my sight, because they see everything on the inward, the actual inner workings of it. And the inner workings of things is the spirit. You see that? That's what determining, you know, actually, you know, the outward. If you can receive that or not. So that's what he just told Esdras, man. Then said I unto him, it were better that we were not at all, than that we should live still in wickedness, and to suffer, and to not know wherefore. Let me read that again. Then said I unto him, it were better that we were not at all, meaning we didn't even live or exist, right? Than that we should live still in wickedness, right? And to suffer and to not know wherefore. See that? That's it. So I ain't even gonna read through the rest of this. So now he basically was giving an answer to that. He told him, going back to Sirach, second Esdras 14, in his fourth chapter, he like, look, man, first of all, see, the Spirit done took me to second Esdras 6. And he said unto me in the first verse, in the beginning, when the earth was made, before the borders of the world stood, or ever the winds blow. See, or ever the winds blew, before it thundered and lightened, or ever the foundations of paradise were laid, right? Before the fair flowers were seen, or ever the movable powers were established, right? Before innumerable multitudes of angels were gathered together, right? So before governments came forth on the earth, and so forth and so on. Before us that control them, you see what I'm saying? That has their heart in our power. Those of us, meaning the angels, those angels that was appointed that lot to deal with that, was given that. Before we was given that, because it was a time before we was even made, right? Gathered together. Or ever the heights of the air were lifted up, before the measures of the firmament were named, or ever the chimneys in Sion were hot, and the present years were sought out, right? Or ever the inventions of them that now sin were turned. See that? Before people start going off, Jake started going off. It says, before they were sealed that have gathered faith for a treasure. So he giving them everything, past, present, future. Then did I consider these things, and they were made through me alone. But he's speaking because remember, angel mean what? Messenger. He's speaking the words of Yahweh. This is Yahweh talking. It says, and they were all made through me alone, and through none other. See? By me also they shall be ended, and by none other. Right? It's Yahweh Basham al-Shah, really. It says, then answered I and said, what shall be the aparted of the sunder of the times? Or what shall be the end of the first and the beginning of it that followed? And he said unto me, from Abraham unto Isaac, when Jacob and Esau were born of him, Jacob's hand held first the hill of Esau. See? So we basically holding the hill right now. Before Jake was on the scene, it was all about Jake, meaning Esau was out the way. It was Esau seen first. And right when you got to the end of Esau, you seen Jake grabbing him. That's how it starts. And from that point, once you seen Jake's hand grabbing Esau's heel, Jake started coming on the scene more and more until Esau's completely out the way. And Jacob was completely delivered out the womb. You see that? Where there was a struggle at. See that? That's how it's gonna be. That's what's gonna be now. Us grabbing a hold of the lies, these imaginations, the world of the devil and who he is, and who he say we are, and taking it, and doing what we're supposed to do with that. And that's crushing that and bringing it unto the subjection of the scriptures. And it's basically not even rewriting, but allowing only what it has been written to be actually written. Fucking crushing them, because that's what they said they was doing in the womb. We was crushing, we was oppressing one another, meaning to crush. To me, that's like balling up a piece of paper. That's what we're gonna do. And it starts from there for us coming on the scene and him going out, getting out of the way, us being delivered. So that's what we're doing now. So we're holding the hill right now. See that? That's what you gotta keep doing. You know, hold fast to that which thou hast, man. You know, we're connected. See, and it's heavy that he was connected to him basically as he was coming out of the womb, or as Esau was, you know, whole time. He could never shake us. That way, basically, it's not gonna be a break in time. Soon as he go down, it just start our world. That's what it means. That's why I was done like that. Because if he would have just left out on his own, like, you know, what does that mean? Salaki. So, yeah, man, that's basically that, man. It was like I said, it wasn't no break. It's not gonna be. It wasn't no break. It wasn't to be a break in time. Soon as we getting right to it, like it ain't gonna be no. We did for World War III, and there was no survivors, and eventually somebody woke up after 30 days of being knocked unconscious from the bombs, and that's not how it's written, man. This shit is gonna, the tables is gonna be turned, man. Like we get straight to it. As soon as you go down, it's not gonna be a lapse. It's not gonna be a break, nothing. And that's why it's important to make it out of here, because you want to see the fall of your enemy, man. Because right when you see his fall, like we immediately going into power. We being changed in a twinkle of an eye, because it's not gonna be a break, and we're gonna be changed to never die again. But that's a whole nother lesson. So he telling him, look, man, you complaining about this world, right? You got the worldly sorrow and all that, but this is not your world, as I was saying. But nonetheless, he said, what? He's like, what's going to be the signs of this world going down? See that? He says, verse 12, I'm going to start at 11. It says, I'm going to start at 9. It says, for Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth, right? The hand of man is betwixt the heel and the hand. Other question Ezra asked thou not. Yeah, regarding that, I answered then and said, O Lord that bearest rule, if I have found favor in thy sight, I beseech thee, shew thy servant the end of thy tokens, thy signs. That's what tokens deal with, mean. Whereof thou shewest me part the last night, right? So he answered and said unto me, stand up upon thy feet and hear a mighty sounding voice. All right. So he went on to tell him. So now we're going to go ahead and jump to this now. So as he went on and told him, he told him all the things that's going to happen. Verse 14, so I read 14. It says, I'm going to start at 13. It says, I'm going to start at 10. The world has lost its youth, and the times began to wax old. Things played out, and the world is divided in 12 parts, and the 10 parts of it are gone already, and half of a 10th part. And there remaineth that which is after half of the 10th part. Now therefore set thy house in order and reprove thy people. See, set thy house in order. You get it together. You realize what's going on, and tell your people, correct them. Right, correct. You getting corrected to correct yourself. It says, and reprove thy people. That through correcting your knowledge, your understanding. It says, and then correct them and comfort. It says, comfort such as of them as be in trouble and now renounce corruption. See that? Let go from thee mortal thoughts. Cast away the burdens of man. Put off now the weak nature, and set aside the thoughts that are most heavy unto thee, and haste to flee from these times. For yet greater evils than those which thou hast seen happen shall be done hereafter. Exactly. So you complain about being in Babylon, but this world not yours, man. You know what I'm saying? And it's gonna go on for a while after this longer, and this is gonna be worse. You know what I'm saying? Like, but it's happening to this world. y'all world, this is not gonna have this in it. It's to come after this world ends. You know, so Esau whole world, he's so much of a loser. Other people ruled in his world while it was his world, meaning other heathens. He failed, will come back, will be able to come back after falling again because it's his world. But who did he fail to? Hell, we ruled one time during his world. That's what's crazy. We didn't rule, but we was up, if you will, and up over him, but we wasn't ruling. Because I don't want to say rule. I could say rule. We weren't ruling permanently, right? And that was during what? The medieval times, the dark ages, as they call it. The Byzantine Empire, all right? That's when we were ruling in his world. Post-Rome falling, the Holy Roman Empire. And then the Renaissance happened after that, and here we are ever since. So, and it's worse, and it's getting worse. And you see this world is done. So that's it, man. So now people getting dumber and what I'm saying, so much and so more, so much and so on. Right? But you got to take these things I'm telling you and write them down. That's what's going on. So I'm finna give you some more information, right? For look how much more the world shall be weaker through age. So much the more shall evils increase upon them that dwell therein. For the truth is fled far away, and leasing is hard at hand. And people gonna get comfortable with this, not knowing what's actually going on, why certain things going on. You know what I'm saying? That they in a trial, they're dealing with a life they're dealing with, hence got a lot that they got for a reason. All going back to reincarnation. It says, and leasing is hard at hand. For now hasted the vision to come, which thou hast seen. Right? And that just proves basically we're not gonna be ruling until we delivered. You see what I'm saying? So we gotta be delivered because Jacob was physically delivered, right? Yeah. Birth was given to him. So that means we physically gotta be delivered. So, and that was all symbolic to represent when we physically delivered and out of the womb, then it'll be about us. You see what I'm saying? So that we waiting on that physical deliverance. So it's not a joke that a Messiah, our Messiah is coming back. Who give a damn who don't believe? We ain't telling you Jesus coming back. We telling you Howard Shah coming back. Ain't nobody ever named Jesus, but a whole nother lesson, right? It says, for now hasted, for the truth is fled far away, at least in his hard at hand. And people, reluctant to think what they think is all that matter, and ain't gonna, if it is the truth, I ain't gonna live to see it, and it doesn't matter, and all this bull crap. It says, for now hasted the vision to come, which thou hast seen. You see, so it was a time when Esdras was once here saying this, and now it's a time when Esdras is really back, probably reading these things. You know what I'm saying? Not saying I'm Esdras and no shit like that. I'm just saying, because he was told the things that's gonna happen, and he said, woe is me, who is gonna deliver me in those days? Was those days weren't said to him to be during his time while he was known as Esdras at all. It was to be like later. All right. Thus proving reincarnation. So again, all of this is dealing with the history. You got to understand the history, not only of the 14th chapter, but obviously the whole book, because it's one stream of event, if you will. Like, yeah, it was days in between, but it's the stream of events. He was complaining about where we was at, and he started reasoning and going through the cycles. And he's like, man, these heathens shouldn't be over. How are they over us, man? Why are we dealing with this? Why is it like this? And the angel had to come and correct them and give them, the insight through the Lord wanted that wanting that to be given to him so he can write it. And within that, he gave him the reveal of why, which ultimately consisted of hearing about reincarnation. And the process of that, because it's not always the same, if you will. Exactly. So now, since we're here, let's go ahead and jump to 2nd Esdras 14. And he told him what? Check this out. This is second Esdras 14. It says, I'm gonna start at 20. Behold, Lord, I will go as thou hast commanded me. See, those were commandments. And reprove the people which are present. See, and reprove the people which are present. Why would he have to tell alone about things that's to come as if it would concern them? Because it obviously would. Now, how would that be if they just in the present time, they wouldn't die and come back? Because they would die and come back. You know, it says, I will go as thou hast commanded me and reprove the people which are present. But they that shall be born afterward, who shall admonish them? See, he wasn't getting it. But watch this. Thus the world is set in darkness. See, thus the world is set in darkness. You get that part now, right? And they that dwell therein are without light. See that? Ain't nothing good coming out of this world. This ain't it. This ain't nothing you want to be trying to like establish yourself in, fucking get a statue built of yourself in. This shit is out of there. It's toast. It's cooked. You don't want nothing. You don't want this world. If you're an Israelite. Hell, you don't even want this world if you're a heathen. To be real, unless you Esau. That's the only way. Believe it or not. Because they written to be eradicated. Nonetheless, it says, for thy law is burnt. And this is why. The world is without light. Because the Lord's law is a lamp unto our feet. This world don't push it. And we will lose it ultimately throughout the duration of time, which he's going to go on to say. Check it out. For thy law is burnt, therefore no man knoweth the things that are done of thee. See, nobody know how the Lord actually get down. Nobody know the Lord got feelings. Nobody know the Lord, you know what I'm saying? He controlling stuff. No one knows. Because the law is burnt. This world, which isn't the Lord's, it isn't the world. It isn't a world of the Lord. You know? So it will hide these things. People wouldn't know about reincarnation for real. People literally think YOLO. That's a lie, bro. It's not true. It is not true. Oh yeah, Esdras told you these heathens been wilding forever, and they ain't never been dealt with, but we get dealt with immediately. So if all these people preserve, when they preserve, it ain't no damn hell. It ain't no you going to fire. You getting judged on earth, dog. The Lord want that, he can have that, but that ain't what's written. Hell's a state in a low condition. Read Ecclesiastes, the first chapter. And yeah, the Lord can destroy. Man, that's a whole nother topic. That's where that shit really, that you gotta understand the gateways to thoughts like that. You know? Never said he did. Man, anyway, let me read on. It says, for thy law is burnt, therefore no man know the things that are done of thee, or the works that shall begin. It says, crazy, the things that's about to happen. But if I have found grace before thee, send the Holy Ghost, the Holy Spirit into me, and I shall write all that hath been done in the world. See that? Since the beginning. And this is how we got understanding to be able to tell you what was going on in the garden as if we was there. Because we got the Holy Spirit, man. You see that? It says, which were written in thy law. You know? It does showing you the law dealt with prophecy. The law informs you on a bunch of things. Everything written in the law tells you everything that's going on in the earth. It gives you insight. Because the Lord like, don't do this. That means somebody done did it or doing it. You see that? See that? That's cause and effect, or prophecy, if you will. It says, or all being all knowing. You see it? It says that men may find out. Let me read it again. But if I have found grace before thee, send the Holy Ghost, the Holy Spirit into me, and I shall write all that has been done in the world since the beginning, which were written in thy law. that men may find thy path. Exactly. You got to lay out things to where ones will find a path of the Lord and be on their way to actually getting the light. And that's through laying out the knowledge of Yahweh Shem Yahshua, laying out the missing pieces to the puzzle, which is so heavy because Esdras books is in the Apocrypha, which is the hidden removed books, the hidden missing pieces. You see that? All done by this world. It says that men might find the main things you need to know. If you knew what Esdras knew, it changed the whole game for you. It says, and that they which live, and that, let me read it again. And I shall write all that have been done in the world since the beginning, which were written in thy law, that men may find thy path. Men may find thy path. Everybody not gonna find it. And that they which will live in the latter days may live. See that means physically. That means it's people. He understood it was people to come, but he didn't realize at the time it would. At this time, because obviously the chapters continue. He didn't remember at the moment at the time of saying this. He didn't realize, if you will, possibly, right? But that's what it is reading. Reincarnate, that they will be the people to live in those times. But which is crazy because I'm telling you in the 14th chapter, hence verses later, from the one I'm reading now, he will reveal, after having revealed to him reincarnation. And then when you get to the 16th chapter, that's when he says that woe is me, who will deliver me in those days. Thus showing you he had to receive, okay, he gonna be here. Reincarnation. When would that be? It would have had to been before he said that in the 16th chapter, or outright before the 16th chapter. Isaiah 14:30. I mean, 2nd Esdras 14:35. See that? So again, that men may find thy path, and that they which will live in the latter days may live. And he answered me, saying, go thy way, gather the people together, and say unto them that they seek thee not for 40 days. See that? Just like he did with Moses. It says, but look, thou prepare. Let me jump down to the point. Yeah, 25. Let me read on. It says, but look, thou prepare thee many box trees, and take with thee Saraya, Debriah, Salemia, Iranus, Asael, these 5 which are ready to write swiftly. Right? Spirits of Israelites with spirits to write. You see what I'm saying? And come hither, and I shall light a candle of understanding in thine heart. See that? And that's the he meaning he like, yeah, I'm gonna give you the Holy Spirit. See that? And I shall light a candle of understanding in thy heart, which shall not be put out till the things be performed which thou shalt begin to write. And when thou hast done some things shalt thou publish, and some things shalt thou shew secretly to the wise. Tomorrow this hour shalt thou begin to write. Then I went forth as he commanded, and gathered all the people together, and said, hear these words, O Israel. Not everybody. See, he ain't go out to the Babylonians, the heathens, and all that. But anyway, our fathers at the beginning were strangers in Egypt, from whence they were delivered. From whence they were delivered. Let me read it again. Our fathers at the beginning were strangers in Egypt, right? Foreigners in Egypt, right? From whence they were delivered. So he's given, a point of reference on how they should look at, our situation at the time, being strangers, hence foreigners in Babylon, right? He was like, they were strangers there, and they was delivered. It says, and received the law of life, which they kept not. So the Exodus happened. Then for the purpose of what? The Lord giving us that designation back to being over all people. Hence name, right? Giving us our name back, right? Before everybody. hence the Shamawath, right? Which is what the book of Exodus is really called. But it says, and received the law of life, which they kept not. Upon that name, that process of the name being gotten back to us, right? Which ye also have transgressed after them. See that? So it's the same things happening. This is how you talking to them. That was happening then, man. We doing the same thing, bro. You know? Then was the land, even the land of Sion, parted among you by lot. See, then was the land, even of the land of Sion, which is crazy because Sion means monument, right? Which is basically dealing with a memorial of getting your name back. See that? How the hell you gonna have a memorial, right? If of something that never happened. What are you remembering? So that's showing you we was always somebody before we became the Israelites. You got Sion and Zion. It's actually Zion. Some they be saying it's damn Zion. I mean Sion. All right. Slop. So yeah, when you come to it, it goes into Zion, which also means parts place. But let's go here. You go into the root word of it. Let's go back. The root word, it ultimately goes back to Zion, right? To what? Monument. See? Monument. And what does monument ultimately mean? All right? Monument. See, a monument is a lasting evidence or reminder of or example of someone or something notable or great. So the Lord brought us to a reminder. He brought us to a mount named Mount Zion, which is a monument, which monument means a reminder. See that? Of what? Something great. Of you being somebody, hence your name. You getting the name, first of all, him back. Since I was in the garden, bro. I had my face for a while. You see what I'm saying? I'm giving you that name back, which is giving my name back, the name back, me, which is giving you your name back. And you always had this because, again, we're doing this upon a monument, which is why y'all known this. I'm also call y'all them Zion, you know, or it's going to be synonymous with y'all. So, man, come on, bro, it's all there. So when you come back to 2nd Esdras 14 and 31, then was the land, even the land of Zion, parted, right? Among you by lot. See, you being brought back to who you was. I broke the land. We all got our land, so forth and so on. It says, but your fathers and ye yourselves have done unrighteousness and have not kept the ways with, see that? Let me read it again. But your fathers and ye yourselves have done unrighteousness and have not kept the ways which the highest commanded you. So now obviously Ezra's got understanding and he can relay the understanding that he got. Hence he reproved himself to where he can go reprove his people. He set his house in order to where he can go reprove his people. Now comfort such as those who be in trouble upon the information he got. He got it now. So now what he about to go on and say? It says, and as ye yourselves have done unrighteousness and have not kept the ways which the most highest commanded you. And as for as much as he is a righteous judge, he took from you, see, and as for as much as he is a righteous judge, he took from you in time, right? Over the process of time, the thing that he had given you. He didn't just take it all at once. Every captivity took us further and further and further away. Every time he put us into captivity, he was taken away from us. Again, that name. You see what I'm saying? And now look. So he like, this is how this is happening. And he like, ultimately, when you think about it, he completely like did that pre-flood, man. So yeah, wrapping this up, he says, now I'm gonna start reading this. I'll come back to RSV. So he took from you in time the thing that he had given you, right? And again, remember, this is Ezra who went from all the times where you could see these things, where you are to go mentally to try to think on these things or make sense of these things you see now, which is the past. You see what I'm saying? You're like, man, it's the thing that has been, basically, is what he's telling them. And now are you here and your brethren amongst you. Therefore, if so be that you will subdue your own understanding, it's the point now. Therefore, if so be that you will subdue your own understanding and reform your hearts, ye shall be kept alive. And after death, ye shall obtain mercy. See that? So what is he getting into? For after death, right? For after death shall the judgment come, when we shall live again. We're going to pay for what we doing now and ain't doing now in time to come. We're going to find ourselves back in this cycle if we don't change now. Right? So he's telling him that. He's telling them this on two levels. Like your present dictates your future. Like dumb being them who they was in that time. And also in this instance of literally when they die and come back. It says, for after death shall the judgment come, when we shall live again. See that? And then shall the names of the righteous be manifest. See that? And the works of the ungodly shall be declared. So what he telling them is, he's like, if you now go back to it, he said, if you will now reform your hearts, therefore, if so be that you will subdue your own understanding, right? Meaning then, while he's telling them that, and reform your hearts, change now, ye shall be kept alive, and after death ye shall obtain mercy. See that? Now, you wouldn't need mercy in the heavens. You in the heavens, ain't no pain and suffering there, because you ain't in the flesh. You got pain and suffering on earth. You see that? But the initial thing I'm telling you is, for after death shall the judgment come, we shall live again, and then shall the names of the righteous be made manifest, and the works of the ungodly shall be declared. Meaning, it's going to show who took heed to what I was saying now in the next lifetime. You see that? Crazy. He says, and then shall the name, for after death shall the judgment come, when we, him and all of them shall live again, and then shall the names of the righteous be manifest. So we gonna find out we're gonna find out who listened based off who's suffering in time to come. Which is why we suffer, because of our past. That's reincarnation. And the works of the ungodly shall be declared. So let's get these next scriptures. Now, this is where the RSV come, right? Ezra's last words to the people. This is the same one. This is verse 33. And now, right, I'm going to just start back at 27. Then I went as he commanded me, and I gathered all the people together and said, hear these words, O Israel. At first, our fathers dwelt as aliens in Egypt, and they was delivered from there. And they were delivered from there, and received the law of life, which they did not keep, which you also have transgressed after them. Then land was given to you for a possession in the land of Zion. But you and your fathers committed iniquity and did not keep the ways which the Most High commanded you. And because he is a righteous judge, in due time he took from you what he had given. And now you are here, and your brethren are farther in the interior, right? If you then will rule, right, over your minds and discipline your hearts, you shall be kept alive. And after, because you gotta think, second Esdras, the 7th chapter already happened. All the info in the 7th chapter, he got all that in his mind now. You know? So you gotta read that yourself. I'll read that with this if you was serious. You know what I'm saying? After this lesson. It says, which is why he talking to him like this. He says, you shall be kept alive, and after death you shall obtain mercy. For after death, the judgment, right, shall come when we shall live again. And then, right, the names of the righteous will become manifest. Who listened? And the deeds of the ungodly will be disclosed. Who didn't listen? See that? It's that plain. All right. So I can just go here now. We're gonna go to the book of we're gonna come here. Let's go to Sirach 41. Concerning death. See that? Now let's jump down to the 9th verse. Right? The fate of the wicked. All right. It says, verse 8, woe to you ungodly men. See, woe to you ungodly men who have forsaken the law of the Most High. When you are born to a curse. And when you die, a curse is your lot. See that? Whatever, right? So now, since I say that, really quick, let's go to Wisdom of Solomon in I believe that's the 7th chapter. In the 8th chapter, right? Wisdom 8. And we're going to jump to verse 19. Check this out. And in friendship with her, pure delight, and in the labors of her hands, unfailing wealth. And in the experience of her company, understanding and renown in sharing her words. I went about seeking how to get her for myself, right? As a child, I was by nature well endowed, right? Because remember, Solomon took over when he was young, right? A child, if you will. So he's going over this being a grown man now, going back to some times. As a child, I was by nature well endowed. This is in the RSV. And a good soul fell to my lot. See? And a good soul fell to my lot. See that? Or rather, being good, I entered an undefiled body. So that, let me read it again. It says, as a child, I was by nature well endowed, and a good soul fell to my lot. See that? He's able to live the life of somebody like who, as a child, or who he was as a child, right? Or rather, being good, I entered an undefiled body. That's what got him there. Because in his past time, he lived a life to where he can have the lot that he would have as Solomon. You see that? So when you go back to Sirach 41 concerning death, chapters concerning death, and you go back to the 8th verse, woe to you ungodly men. Remember, Esdras broke that down. It says, who have forsaken, right? Who have forsaken the law of the Most High, right? the Most High God, Yahweh. When you are born to a curse. And when you die, a curse is your lot. So he now has understanding on why he was seeing what he was seeing. Because it's the weight of the fire. It's all happening to try and prove who everybody is. But again, everything you see is upon, as far as lots, whether people be good or bad, dealing with good or bad, held as prophets, held as the righteous, held as the just, treated as the just, treated as the unjust, not a prophet, a believer, a believer that, only believe for a time and then fall out. That's upon who they were, the weight of their spirit. That's what he's saying. See that? So again, when you are born to a curse because why? In your previous life, you went against the Lord's commandments. You see that? But see, everybody dealing with the curses to different degrees. They got different steads or lots ultimately, though we're all in slavery. Some are prophets. Some are doing better than others in this area. Some was given over to this. Some don't know the Lord and won't know the Lord. Some believe, some help. Some are the best brothers, some are the best sisters. Some are lukewarm, some aren't. Some are the worst niggas. Some die as soon as they born. You see that? So that's something you want to consider, man. Because again, for after death shall the judgment come when we shall live again, right? And then the name, then shall the names be of the righteous be made manifest. So now you had this understanding, like, damn, that's why that's going on with them. And our people had knowledge of this, and really because of Esdras. And the works of the ungodly shall be declared, because Yahweh Shai and the rest of the people at that time, we read Maccabees. That's how we knew about the Feast of Dedication. We subscribe to that. That's where you get St. John 10 and 22. So the Apocrypha is 100% canon. But you got some people that don't believe it. Go read St. John 10 and 22. All right? So they were reading Esdras. And Esdras gave people more insight than ever before of what? Reincarnation. All right? So most of you ain't going to look it up, so I'm going to put it on the screen. John 10 and 22, right? Red letters. All right? It says, and it was at Jerusalem, the Feast of Dedication. What is that? And it was winter. What is that? Why is that? Because they subscribe to the history that did happen. The rebuilding, the sacking of the temple and the rebuilding of it. Hence the Maccabean revolt, the Maccabees. That's Apocrypha. See that? But you got some people that say the Apocrypha ain't canon when Yahweh Shai himself was at the Feast of Dedication. Please make that make sense. AKA what? Hanukkah, or what they call Hanukkah. As you see in the dang HNV, it was the Feast of Hanukkah at Jerusalem. See that? In the DBY, now the Feast of Dedication was celebrating at Jerusalem, and it was winter. See that? What is Yahweh Shai doing? What is it? What is the Feast of Dedication doing being celebrated during the time when the Son of God is on earth? And he was in Jerusalem, and he was there. See? Come on, bro. Feast of Dedication, consecration. It says what? In particular, the annual feast celebrated 8 days beginning in the 25th of Kislev, middle of our quote-unquote December, instituted by Judas Maccabeus, 164 BC, years before Yahushua, in memory of cleansing of the temple from the pollution of Antiochus or Antiochus Epiphanes. You see that? And this wasn't a part of the this law, this feast didn't become a feast day until that time period. You see that? So you're not gonna find it in the Torah, the first 5 books. You're not gonna find it in Leviticus when the Lord laid out all our feast days, because this happened as something we instituted as to be a new memorial. Now, how would that be if it didn't really happen? How would our people have information of this when this was 164 years before the time when they were celebrating it that day? A baby probably was just born. It was 164 years before that day baby was born. And Yahushua at the time, he like what, 30? Right? So what, he 100 and that joint was that was 100 and what's that? 26? 134, Salakia. Yep. 134 years before he was born. See that? And the elders, they was like 20 years older than him. 30 years, son. They kept talking about how he wasn't 50. You know? So you talking about a time that was 100 years before all of them. How would they have knowledge of it? How would they have knowledge? It was written. So they subscribed to the book of Maccabees. What's found in what they call the Apocrypha. All right? So this they knew about, this is how you have this. John 9 in the top of the chapter. Red letter. It says, and as Yahushua passed by, he saw a man which was blind from his birth. And his disciples asked him, saying, Master, who did sin, this man or his parents, see, that he was born blind? See that? Where they get that type of thing from? Now, what Yahushua say? Yahushua answered, he didn't say, he answered, neither had this man sinned nor his parents, but that the works of Yahweh should be made manifest. So he ain't correct them. Y'all wrong for thinking that. Y'all niggas wild for thinking about the, subscribing to Apocrypha, what Esdras talk about. Esdras wasn't even real. That's not what he said. Because that was true. That wouldn't be true. That would be off. But he corrected them like, not this time. You see that? Because again, Sirach 41:8, woe to you ungodly men, right, who have forsaken, right, the law of the Most High. As he told them, like, if you reform your heart now, right, when you die, you're going to obtain mercy. For after the death, again, therefore, 2nd Esdras 14:34, for therefore, right, I'm going to start again, verse 33. And now are you here, right, and your brethren amongst you. See that? You're here now. You worry about the life now. Therefore, if so be that you will subdue your own understanding and reform your hearts, ye shall be kept alive, right? And after death, ye shall obtain mercy, right? So you won't get judged now, right? Jacked up, put to death now in this captivity because you changed. And after you die, go to sleep because there's more time we gonna fulfill. This is we hadn't even left the Middle East yet. What they call the Middle East. So they all knew we was going to sleep or dying, which Yahushua will come and say wasn't death, it's sleep. Thus further showing reincarnation because you wake up from sleep at some point. But nonetheless, and he taught it himself as far as the concept of reincarnation. He said, you will not only be kept alive, kept from the hurt that you can get now, but after you go to sleep, you die, right? As they seen it, you're going to obtain mercy. Why would you need mercy again in heaven? What they call heaven in the spiritual world. You wouldn't need it. You see, well, really you would, because that's when you receive your judgment. As it says, for after death shall the judgment come. That's when you step before the throne, and then the Lord deals with you upon what you did, and then he gives you a lot to come back into when you live again. See that? It says, for after death shall the judgment come when we shall live again. See that? That's why the prophets stay the prophets. And that's why it's a beautiful thing to see yourself as a believer now. And it's a scary thing to see yourself as somebody lukewarm and let alone see somebody, that the Lord just ain't showed nothing to him. He just put them to death, because it shows what? For after death shall the judgment come, when we shall live again. And the then, right, meaning when we come back again, shall the names of the righteous be manifest. You know who was righteous based off who was dealt with righteous. Because you like, oh, they among, with knowing this, you like, oh, damn, they amongst the true doctrine. They doing the works. You know what I'm saying? We all in captivity, all come short of the glory. Everybody go off. But these are the ones that, you know what I'm saying? Like, clearly the Lord, and you got to endure. Because men will be on fire for years and then just fall the fuck out, become a peon. Women too. You know what I'm saying? But then again, that's still a time where the names of the righteous manifest. So if a brother died in the work, you know what I'm saying, go to sleep in the work, and he was doing the work the whole time, you like, yeah, he was one of them ones back then. Because I ain't seen him go, he ain't go off. And if he did go off, he corrected it before he went to sleep. You see that? But then it's a level to it's levels to going off. You ain't doing some wicked ass shit. You wouldn't have a wicked ass goddamn lot being lived out if your ass wasn't wicked. You wouldn't be playing out certain curses if your ass wasn't, you know what I'm saying? So you can't go back and change those things. But again, like he said, and now are you here and your brethren amongst you? Therefore, if so be that you will subdue your own understanding and reform your hearts, ye shall be kept alive, and after death ye shall obtain mercy. So you be kept from harm that you can receive in this lifetime, and after you die, you're going to retain mercy. You're going to have a good lot. See that? After death shall the judgment come, when we shall live again. And then shall the names of the righteous be made manifest, or be manifest, right? And the works of the ungodly shall be declared. So it's going to be clear if your life looks like one that the Lord hates, that pisses the Lord off. It's going to be clear that you pissed the Lord off back then in your past life. And if you got a lot of one that, is honorable and esteemed in the sight of the Lord, you was always somebody esteemed and honored in the sight of the Lord in your past. See that? So again, I'm going to end this here. Sirach 41:8. Woe to you, ungodly men, which have forsaken the law of the Most High God, Yahweh. Right? When you are born to a curse. See that? And when you die, see a curse. It says, and there's many curses. And when you die, a curse is your lot. Because you didn't correct it in that. So you came into a curse upon your last life, and you didn't correct it to where you're going to be cursed the fucking again. You're going to have a worse fucking lot. So that's why you got people deformed and all fucked up and shit. Playing out wicked ass acts. You playing the role of the fucking devil, and you can't change it. Like, because what your ass did in your past life. But if you will reform your heart now, it's serious, man. Your work's going to continue with you. It says, as I'm going to finish, it says, and when you die, it curses your lot. Whatever is from the dust returns to the dust. So just use that as an analogy. You just go back to what you was of. It says, so the ungodly go from curse to destruction. The mourning of men is about their bodies. See that? The lots of situations they got, why they broke, why they fucked up, why they got a short ass arm, they deformed. It says, but the evil name of sinners will be blotted out. See that? So here it is. The Lord can just outright get rid of you because of your reputation that you had in your past. So have care for your name, as it says, have regard for your name, since it will remain with you longer than 1,000 great stores of gold. See, the days of a good life are numbered, but a good name endures forever. So though you got people that's wicked and they past and they present, they probably ain't gonna change. That didn't change in their past. It's not gonna stay with them forever, because eventually you Israelites gotta be changed, and we all gonna have the kingdom. But you gonna be shamed then too. It's gonna be clear who wasn't the first fruits. So you want to see this, you know what I'm saying? Like, and then for the days of the good, that stay with you forever, because that's what our actual lot is going to be, immortality of good, forever living in good. You see that? So my children, observe instruction and be at peace. Hidden wisdom and unseen treasure, what advantage is there in either of them? So act like you know now. Call Halam La Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai, Till next time, Shalom.